Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing reasons why an ex comes back. I provide audio and email coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details, www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing reasons why an ex comes back. If you have gone through a breakup and want your ex back, then you will likely be wondering what are the reasons for an ex to come back. First of all, we need to understand why a breakup takes place. When two people are in a relationship, they are both feeling a high level of romantic emotional attraction for one another. If for whatever reason this level drops to a certain low point, a breakup will likely take place. The person who lost romantic emotional attraction will likely end the relationship and become the dumper. If the dumper regrows romantic emotional attraction to the necessary high point in the future, this is the fuel they need to consider reaching out to their ex. However, they will also need an ignition to spark the fuel and fire them into reaching out. So romantic emotional attraction is the fuel, but what are the ignitions? In today's podcast, I'm going to be telling you 3 ignitions which can get your ex back. So let's get straight into this. And number 1 are triggers. So triggers are things which create memories in the mind of an ex to think of their former partner. This is an ignition where if there is enough fuel in the tank of romantic emotional attraction, this will really push them into the position of wanting to reconnect with their ex. So examples of triggers are sounds, smells, locations, visuals, and dates of the year. So maybe somebody will hear a sound which reminds them of their ex. Maybe they will smell something, such as a perfume or an aftershave, some type of cologne, something such as that, which will remind them of their ex. Maybe they have travelled to a location which they once had great memories with their ex, and therefore this will also act as a trigger. Visuals could be various things which bring back memories of when they was once with their ex in a positive way. And dates of the year are things such as birthdays, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, and a whole manner of other possible dates of the year, which when somebody realises this is the day, they will automatically think of their ex and feel those memories. These are all ignitions. Triggers as a whole are a great ignition, and if there is enough fuel, if there is enough romantic emotional attraction, then when the ignition takes place, this is when an ex will want to send a message and reach out. So now let's get into ignition number 2, and the second point of today's podcast as a reason for why an ex might want to come back. And number 2 is realization. The realization that life isn't as great as they hoped. So when somebody ends a relationship, they are theorizing that their life will be better outside of that relationship. They believe that they will have a happier, more fulfilling life whilst not being in this connection. Now, ultimately, they will be thinking that they will connect with somebody new even better than they did with their previous partner, hence they have ended the relationship. Now, some people will want to get into a relationship very quickly, some will be enjoying single life for a while. But if point number 2, realization, takes place, this is where somebody will be realizing that their life isn't better than when they were with their ex. They're realizing that the single life isn't as fun as they thought. They're realizing that that new relationship they jumped into was a rebound and it's already finished. They will be realizing that they have probably made a huge mistake. And when the realization happens, when somebody looks themselves in the eye, they look in the mirror, and they realize that their life isn't as good as they had hoped, they realize that their life with their ex wasn't as bad as they thought, this is a huge ignition. And this can take varying amounts of time. As I've said, somebody might be enjoying the single life. It might take a while. But eventually that single life will become old. All of a sudden things won't seem as new and as exciting as they once did. All of a sudden they will be feeling like instead of single life being the way forward, they are now feeling lonely. Maybe they've got into relationships. Maybe it was a short-term rebound. Maybe it was longer term, but ultimately it has failed. When realization takes place, somebody will look themselves in the eye and they will say to themselves, my life isn't as great as I thought. And maybe, just maybe, my previous life with my ex wasn't as bad as I feared. I'm now thinking to myself, I've made a mistake. I'm now thinking to myself that maybe, just maybe, my ex is enjoying their life without me more than I'm enjoying my life without them. When all of this combines, it creates a very strong pull to reach out to their ex. It creates that desire that they want to reconnect. Things such as the fading effect bias will also help things move along in this direction. And if you want to learn more about the fading effect bias and all of the other elements that I'm speaking about in today's podcast, if you want to learn about them all in more detail, then please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring the bell for notifications, because I've got so much content on there. And I upload regularly, so please make sure you subscribe so you are notified of my future uploads, whilst also checking out my various playlists which provide you with varying content. If you're looking at point number 1 or point number 2, the triggers of realization, they are the ignitions which can really create a spark where when the fuel is in place, a connection is likely to occur. So now let's move into point number 3, and the final ignition of when somebody will reconnect with their ex, and this is pity. Now, unfortunately, unlike the first 2 ignitions that we've spoke about today, pity is not an ignition that you want to happen. Pity is a situation that happens when someone is persuaded to take their ex back. And although this is an unlikely occurrence, it does sometimes happen. But sadly, for people who have taken their ex back through pity, this is when there is no fuel. This is when the level of romantic emotional attraction is not at the necessary high point. And although this ignition of pity has taken place, it's not taken place for the right reason. This is often showcased when somebody has been dumped, they want to get their ex back, but they don't want to put in the work using the no contact rule. Again, if you want to learn about my version of the no contact rule, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my playlist called the no contact rule. You can find out everything about my theory within that playlist. But getting back on track for today, if you are in a position where you are a dumpee, I highly suggest you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. If you jump the gun and you contact them, then you have no indication that the level of romantic emotional attraction has grown to the necessary high point in their mind. You have jumped the gun and you have not waited for them to contact you first. Therefore, you do not know that they have got enough fuel, and you do not know that they have had an ignition, because if they had, they would have likely contacted you. Instead, you have jumped the gun, you've contacted them, and you have possibly begged, pleaded, and reasoned with your ex. And in a very small amount of instances, your ex, the dumper, will actually take you back through pity. But trust me, this is not a good thing, because it's not coming from a place of genuine interest. Because there is not enough fuel, because this ignition is not the one you want, you are creating a false situation. And sadly, for most dumpees who get their ex back through pity, this new relationship will not last long, because within a couple of months, their ex would have dumped them, if not sooner. Sometimes they only reconnect for a few dates. This is because it is not genuine. There is not the fuel of romantic emotional attraction. The ignition is not what you want. Pity is not what you're looking for. And they have purely taken you back because they feel sorry for you. You want somebody to be interested in you in a romantic way, not because they feel sorry for you. You want them to have true romantic interest in you, not feeling sorry and pity for you. That is not appealing, and that will not make a relationship last. You will not be on an equal footing. They will be on the high level and you will be on the lower level. You will be pushing them onto the pedestal and they will be looking down on you, feeling sorry for you, feeling pity for you, and in this small amount of instances will temporarily take you back because they are worried for your mental health. If you get your ex back through pity, you don't want to be celebrating for too long because you will likely be feeling heartbreak all over again before you know it. As soon as they realise that they are not going to be satisfied by being in a relationship with you, as soon as they see somebody else who interests them more on a romantic note, they will dump you once more and they will connect with somebody new. So when we look at the ignitions, when we look at everything we've been discussing today, number 1, triggers, and number 2, realization are true ignition. If they come into play when there is enough romantic emotional attraction, then you stand an excellent chance of reconnecting with your ex because they will likely contact you. If though you've fallen into part number 3, if you've got number 3, pity, if the ignition is this false dawn of pity, then sadly any reconciliation will likely be short-lived. Always make sure that if you've been dumped, you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first, because ultimately you don't know if they've got enough romantic emotional attraction, enough fuel and an ignition, because if they had, they would most likely have contacted you first. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.